When did your something is very wrong here feeling turned out to be true? I was at a party when I was in college when two older dudes showed up. The place was packed and most people were drunk. I noticed something was a bit off about them. They never smiled and weren't really talking to anyone. Finally, someone accused them of feeling around in their back pocket, and it turned out they were lifting wallets from drunk college kids. Once confronted, one of the guys stabbed the kid in the stomach with a smallish knife. They left slowly and were never caught. It was pretty surreal. The kid who got stabbed turned out fine. That's way crazier than where I thought this was going. I has a similar situation in college where it was two guys in Hooters t-shirts that nobody knew who were keeping entirely to themselves. They would just smile and walk away when people approached them to ask who they were. Turns out they were undercover cops. They didn't stab anyone or steal anything, but they totally ruined the party. Hooters t-shirts Lamau, like that makes it less conspicuous. What do college kids like? I don't know, Hooters? Good enough. Went for a weekend away with a group from my local scouting area, back in the 80s. I didn't know them all, went to make up the numbers and get some climbing, canoeing, caving done. We stayed in a rented house in the Peak District, UK. One evening, a few guys went out to try bouldering, climbing boulders 10 to 15 meters high. I got there, took one look and said no, we have no climbing gear, that's high enough to die falling from. I got the mickey taken, chicken, etc., so I left them to it and walked back. An hour later one guy fell 10 meters and split his skull open on the rocks below, killed instantly. Edit, well, I didn't expect this to get so much attention. For those that asked, I can't remember exactly where it was now. It was over 30 years ago and I remember at the time it was difficult to find the house, especially in the days before sat-nav mobile phones. It was down several windy country roads and then up a farm track. It was many years before I visited the area again and couldn't find the place at all, not even sure I was on the right road. I seem to remember it was near Castleton, as I think that was the town I walked down to after returning back to the house. And again, for those who ask, apart from one guy who I saw a few times over the years, I didn't see any of the others again. I wasn't called to the inquest and the group were outside of my normal group of mates. 10 to 15 meters for bouldering is insane. I wouldn't even consider anything over 4 meters. To me, bouldering is about going sideways, not up. At a certain point it stops being bouldering and starts being free climbing without safety gear. Or as corners see it, misadventure. When I was a little kid, I stepped outside to walk home from my neighbor's 2 doors over. I smelled what I knew was a bear, which are common where I live. If you've ever smelled a black bear, it's not that different from a skunk, which is what my friend's mom told me it probably was when I asked her to drive me home even though my house was literally right around the corner. The thing is, a skunk's smell is strong, but doesn't, travel. A bear's smell is more permeating. Begrudgingly, she drove me, only to see the bear sitting on my back steps outside the door I would have tried to enter my house with. Black bears aren't that vicious, but my friend's mom apologized immediately about not believe me, could have walked straight into that thing at the age of 12. I had no idea bears had a strong smell to them. Oh, they stink to high heaven. This happened almost 30 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I was probably 8 or 9 at the time and had been at the store buying candy for the weekend with the girl from next door. She was 1 year younger than me. A car stopped and the man inside opened the passenger door and asked me and my friend to get in the car. He was picking us up for our parents, he told us. I could not shake the feeling that something was wrong and remember thinking this is what my parents were talking about. I grabbed my friend's hand, said that we lived in that house right over there and pulled my friend with me. Went to their door, rang the bell, went straight in and told the people living there what had happened. Turned out I was right, we were about to be kidnapped. Had a similar situation as kids but generally being assholes we literally threw rocks at the van. Haha, my cousin's kids did the same. They were notorious little hellraisers anyway, but had that deceptively innocent air about them when they were young. A van pulled up while the 2 oldest boys, both under 10 at the time, were with 2 of their younger sisters. The man tried to coax them into the van, the girls responded by screaming curses at him while the boys threw stones. Neighbors came running out of their house yelling at the kids and it didn't get all sorted until the police showed up. Then everyone awkwardly realized the kids had done the right thing. I work at a psych hospital. I was in the cafe with an adult unit and the adolescent unit was also there. I had known one of the kids from when she was on the children's and normally we had a good rapport. I went to say hi and told her I was proud she had been staying out of trouble. A few of the other girls reacted weirdly to me saying it and the girl looked guilty. I told the staff on the unit and said they should keep an extra eye on the girls because I had bad vibes about it. The staff kinda brushed me off. A half hour later 4 girls, including the one I knew, literally almost killed the 2 staff. One got her head bashed in and suffered brain trauma and the other staff was blinded in one eye. Not me but my mom. When I was about 10 years old I got invited to spend the night at my really good friend's home. My mom said no. I begged her to let me go but she was adamant that I couldn't. She said she just didn't feel right about it and that no amount of pleading was going to change her mind. A few weeks later my friend's dad was arrested for child pornography. After he went to trial it was found that he had also molested several young girls. He would have his daughter invite them over for a slumber party, and then touch them when they went to sleep. If my mom hadn't trusted her gut feeling I could have been one of his victims. This is all too real. When I was 8 years old, 2nd or 3rd grade, can't remember which, I stayed the night at one of my friend's houses. She lived in the house right beside ours. I woke up in the middle of the night to her dad performing oral sex on me. Years later I had to testify in court because turns out, he had been molesting raping his children. My grandparents were driving up a steep mountain road behind a logging truck, when my grandmother started having a mild panic attack. She just kept saying something's not right, pull over. We need to pull over, so my grandpa did and settled her down. After a few minutes she was fine and they kept driving. A mile or 2 up the road the load of trees had come loose and spilled off the truck. That's some Final Destination shit if I ever heard it. Yeah, Op's grandparents are definitely going to be hunted by death now. Well, but, isn't that, like, standard procedure for old people? Yay, that's why they're tired all the time. They just don't have the heart to tell you I can't run right now, because I was running from the Grim Reaper all night. It was 1:30 am, raining. I was riding my motorcycle down a 4-lane road, 2 lanes each direction with a middle turn lane. I saw a car approach a stop sign, perpendicular to me, in the parking lot of a bar, and thought to myself he's going to turn left in front of me. I was going 45 miles per hour, let off the throttle, and about 200 to 250 feet from him, he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Grabbed my front and rear brakes, back tire locked up and kicked out to the left. I had maybe 40 to 50 feet in which I would either high side in front of the car and likely be ran over, slam into the driver door or rear driver door, or jump off to the right in a tuck and roll fashion. I jumped and my motorcycle slammed into the rear driver's side of his car. I had a couple scratches, bruises and a sore tailbone. But I wasn't ran over or hanging out in his back seat via glass window. Thank God for spidey senses. My cousin was killed in a collision just like this almost 2 years ago. The driver of the pickup truck didn't have his lights on though. We later found out he was drunk, so my cousin wasn't able to stop. His girlfriend was on the back of his bike. My cousin went through the driver's door window, his girlfriend over the hood. Both of them, and the driver of the truck, were all killed instantly. A lot of people I know pay better attention to motorcycles now. Unfortunately it took the death of a good man to get there. I'm glad you're okay. Your maneuvering and instincts were very impressive, but it's too bad you had to use them. Stay safe. I used to be a lifeguard in a very small gated community with a lot of wealthy people. I also used to sing at the local church services. I met the pastor in that context and something about him just seemed off. It wasn't anything I'd be able to articulate. I just didn't like him. He just made my gut drop. Later, I noticed that the local pastor was spending a lot of time at the pool watching the little kids swim, one little boy in particular. He would have a towel ready for him, he'd have the kid sit on his lap to dry off. As far as I knew, he wasn't babysitting him, he was just there, watching and touching. It made my hackles rise. I told his parents that the way the pastor was interacting with their son made me uncomfortable. They investigated and it turns out the pastor was going to their home when they weren't there and spending time with that little boy in his bedroom. They didn't give me any more details than that, but it was implied that something sexual had been going on. I don't know what happened to him after that, but he was obviously removed as pastor from the church. It's so important to trust your gut on these things. It's a really good thing that you told his parents, then. Good on you. Edit, autocorrect is obnoxious. Honestly, good on the parents too for actually taking it seriously and looking into it. So many people are willing to turn a blind eye for a perceived authority figure.